Last time, if you see in the Brahma Vaivarta Purana, we were looking up at few stories and wherein Krishna also praises. Now, just to give you a background, Brahma Vaivarta Purana glorifies Krishna as the Supreme Lord and Radharani as the Supreme Goddess. So even Narayana is also considered to be an avatara of Krishna as per Brahma Vaivarta Purana. Now let's not get into the controversy part of this. It is because Krishna is considered as supreme in the Brahma Vaivarta Purana. Radharani is considered as the supreme goddess. So everyone below, everything, all the other gods, everything and everyone is below Krishna and Radha as per Brahma Vaivarta Purana. So here then how come we learn this? How come we learn that? And there are also instances wherein Saraswati Devi was previously the wife of Lord Vishnu, who later on married Brahma. That's also the story that we have in the Brahma Vaivarta Purana. So all this now, we should not consider this to be controversy. Each Puranas, they have their, as per the time periods, the Kalpa that is there changes, there are certain references that come. So because Brahma Vaivarta Purana glorifies Krishna and Radharani, therefore, they will be at the topmost level and other gods are kept below. So basically, you can consider like you have the Shivratri festival coming up wherein we worship Lord Shiva. That doesn't mean that all other gods are low or we do not worship. So similarly, while we are studying this Purana, Krishna and Radha are worshipped. Now again, there are some controversies. Does even a character like Radha exist? Is there any value? This and that. We are no one to get into that because there are many proofs that Radha Rani existed and why was Avatara and so on. So that's a completely different topic. Those who are interested, you should read Brahma Vaivarta Purana in detail. Also, another aspect of this Purana is Krishna himself, just as we have in the Vishnu Sahasranama, Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Ramanama Varanane. Similarly, here, just as Parvati, Lord Shiva tells Parvati that chanting Ramanama thrice is equal to chanting the entire Vishnu Sahasranama. Similarly, here in this Purana, Krishna tells Mahadeva, Mahadeva, Mahadeveti. Chanting the names of Mahadeva thrice will ensure that all our desires are fulfilled, sins go away, and so on. So, this again shows unity between Shiva and Vishnu. So there are like this many proofs and Puranas. Krishna also gets into this topic. Krishna also tells that Shiva is equal to me. Vishnu also tells the same thing. Shiva also highlights the same thing. So again, shows the unity between Shiva and Vishnu, Shaivism and Vishnu Vaishnavism. Again, there are many texts say that those who do Bheda between Vishnu and Shiva, that leads to Ahopapam. So there is like Ahopapam when we say, that is there is no, you can say, level of papa we cannot imagine at all. For that there is, sorry, we have different shlokas and different references also which say that those who do bheda between Vishnu and Shiva, for them it is total sins that they incur. Even I think recently we had the Sringeri Acharyas also talking about this, where the Sannidhanam, who says that Vidishekara Bharati Sannidhanam says in his one of the Anugraha Bhashanams recently, I think just a day or two back, wherein he says that again those who do bheda between Shiva and Vishnu, they are all, it leads to sin. There are also controversies which say that Adi Shankaracharya was a Shaivite and so on. If he was so, he would have never composed stotras on Vishnu goddess and so on. So like this, there are many references, and we also have different shlokas. Like if I have to, I just want to recollect the shloka. I'm just trying to recollect it because this has got reference in the, yeah, if I'm not wrong, Madbhakta Shankaradveshi Madveshi Shankarapriyaha Ubhautam Narakam Yataha Yavachandra Divakarav. This is not a part of Brahma Vaivarta Purana. I think it's a part of Brahmanda Purana, wherein one who distinguishes between the bhaktas of Shiva and Vishnu, for them Narakam Yataha, straight away you have to go to hell. So this is what even Brahmanda Purana highlights. So why I am giving you different references is all our scriptures, including the Puranas, they highlight about all these different topics, showing that there is unity between gods. Further, Brahma Vaivarta Purana also talks about certain dharmas which are to be followed by common people like us. Even it stoops down. Those who have attended the previous sessions, you will know that it stoops down to the level of even telling us what kind of food items we should eat. and on certain days why certain things are consumed and so on. Like for example, even some people don't consume onions, garlic, and so on, right? For that, there is, and you can say why they don't do that is, if you see those who consume onions, garlic, all, you'll know that whenever we eat that, or even you cut that with your hand or so, the taste in our mouth as well as in our hands, it remains for a longer period of time, right? The taste is always there than other vegetables or fruits, whatever we eat. So onions and garlic, if you see, apart from the normal vegetables, it when it is added to food, it makes it more tasty, spicy, whatever you call it. The taste remains in our mouth for a longer period of time. This is wherein we feel like eating it more and more and more and more, and later, of course, it affects our health, because when we consume something in excess, it is obviously going to affect. So that's the reason why. So it is not a sattvic food that we say. And then there are other stories also that by cutting Rahu's body, Ketu's body, and so on, onions and garlic came out. Of course, that has got what logic. For that, we have to do our study more in detail. But if you say, sorry, spit, correct. So that, of course, in which where that reference is there, at least I am not aware of that. But a very practical reason that we can see is the taste remains for a longer period of time, and then we feel like eating more and more. So that's the reason why sannyasis and those who eat sattvic food, they don't do that, because for them, they don't live to eat, they eat to live. There's a difference between this. So for them, they just eat to fill in their stomachs and to be alive, and not for just, you can say, enhancing their taste buds. So that's the reason why all these foods are avoided. And even you'll have our grandfather, great, maybe in all your cases, maybe 1 2 generations back, you see, night time also people used to have early dinner. Nowadays you have all these concepts, right? You go to a dietitian, they'll give you a diet plan. Have early lunch, heavy breakfast, this, that, they tell you early dinner, don't have anything 2 hours before you sleep, and so on. All this reference is again made in the Brahma Vaivarta Purana, which maybe people 1 or 2 generations back were following, and they had a practical reason for this. This also has been highlighted in the Purana. So it's not just a religious concept. Brahma Vaivarta Purana has got stotras, wherein it has got different stutis in praise of different gods, and also everyday life habits and various stories of Krishna and so on. Now let us continue. Virata Swarupa of Krishna or of Vishnu is also described. Virata Purusha form, that is chapter 11 of the Gita, that has also been described in detail in the Brahma Vaivarta Purana. Then you also have a stotram Saraswati Kavacham. Like we have Vishnu Kavacham, Krishna Kavacham, we also have Saraswati Kavacham, also Shiva Kavacham, Ganga Stotram, and so on in the Brahma Vaivarta Purana. So Kavacham is nothing but a protective cover that we have. So all these stotras are composed wherein Narada questions. All this is a conversation between Narada and Narayana. Saraswati Kavacham, if I remember, Shrudam Sarvam Purvam Cha Tvat Sudoshapam Adhuna Prakriti Nam Cha Vyasam Varanaya Bhok Prabho. Narada questions Narayana, saying that I have heard many concepts from you, O Narayana. Now you tell me something about the goddess of learning, Saraswati, how she will protect us. That's when Narayana, he starts Saraswati Kavacham. So like this, there are different stotras that are composed here. Further, I'm not getting too much deep into the topic, because then if you get too deep, you have to look at every Purana. I'm just telling you the gist. So many prayers in praise of goddess Saraswati, also composed by sage Yajnavalkya. Yajnavalkya, the main propounder of Yajurveda, he has also composed stotras on goddess Saraswati. Then in the previous chapters, if you see, we had seen a story of the curse that was given by Ganga, Lakshmi, and Saraswati. That's the reason why till date Saraswati and Ganga, they flow as rivers. That is because of a curse that they had. All of them were living in heaven. How Saraswati turned into a river, how Ganga Devi turned into a river, those stories are also mentioned. You have seen this in the earlier sessions. Those who have joined today, I will share the audio later. You can listen. So it shows that Ganga Devi, Saraswati Devi, how they originated, how they were there in heaven, later how they started flowing on earth, what is their story behind it, how they ended up cursing each other and started flowing on earth. That story is also there. Next is you have the different measures of time that are mentioned in the Brahma Vaivarta Purana. Srimad Bhagavatam also talks about this. Like we have one nimisham, a second, a minute, an hour, HOUR, and so on. So how that is calculated, that is also highlighted in this Purana. Not all Puranas talk about time. You have Srimad Bhagavatam, you have Brahma Vaivarta Purana, and also one or two more that talk about time divisions. So this shows that our scriptures were very much particular about times. We have second, millisecond, minute, and millisecond, second, minute, and so on, right? But you see, in these Puranas, you have the division of time which goes more into detail. Maybe half of a second, or still you break that millisecond into still more parts and so on. A muhurta, a kala, a paksha. So like this, there are different divisions of time that are there, which people also used to follow. Why people used to follow is because we did not have the concept of time like we have now. So therefore, for them, this one kala, one nimisha, one muhurta, all this made a lot of difference. Next is you have you have the story of Prithvi that is there in this Purana. Prithvi Devi, how she was born, how now, if you know a very popular story of goddess Earth, she was moving around earlier in the form of a cow. And that's when Prithu Chakravarti, he comes and he milks goddess Earth in the form of the cow, milks in a sense, gets out all the riches. That's how Bhumi Devi becomes very, very fertile. We have agriculture, trees, everything growing about, and the earth is full of riches when she is milked. So similarly, this is a story of Prithvi, which is again highlighted in the Brahma Vaivarta Purana. Next is you have Ganga Stotram, as I told you. Now very few Puranas, one more thing you have to notice, very few Puranas talk about rivers, and the one who propounded, or you can say talked more again or praised about rivers, is Adi Shankaracharya. So after the mention in the Puranas, that too in the Brahma Vaivarta Purana especially, not much again in other Puranas, you have it in Adi Shankaracharya's creations, Ganga Stotram, Yamuna Stotram, Narmada Stotram, and so on. And that's the reason even till date in our culture, if you see, we do worship rivers, right? Rivers, trees, and so on. So Adi Shankaracharya was the one who, after the mention in this Puranas, he was the one who put in efforts to compose stotras. Stotras Devi Sureshwari Bhagavati Gange Tribhuvana Tarini Tarala Tarange Shankara Mauli Viharini Vimale Mama Maitirastam Tava Pada Kamale, and so on it goes. Right? Similarly, Yamuna Stotra Duno Tume Karomilam and so on. Even Narmada Stotram has been composed. There are also stotras in praise of river Kaveri. Of course, that's not done by Shankaracharya, but you have Stotram Kaveri Stotram or Kaveri Stuti also. Okay, so like this, the famous Ganga Arti, those who have listened, in that you will have this, the first shloka, Devi Sureshwari Bhagavati Gange, that is from Shankaracharya's Ganga Stotram. Next, so Ganga river has been highlighted and praised a lot in this Purana. You have almost 3 to 4 chapters in this Purana highlighting about Devi Ganga. Now, Brahma Vaivarta Purana also talks a lot about Lord Ganesha. Again, very few Puranas highlight about Ganesha. We have Ganesha Puranam separately. But Brahma Vaivarta Purana, there are few stotras in praise of Ganesha also in this Purana. Uh, Ganesha Sahasranama one is there, and another you have another Ganesha Sahasranama which has Gakara Sahasranama, everything. Ganadyakshaha, Ganeshaha, all the 1,000 names of Ganesha will start from the Ga Akshara. That is from Ganesha Purana. So Ganesha Purana is a Upa Purana, but Brahma Vaivarta Purana also has certain instances, certain stories of Ganesha, like Ganesha and his argument with the moon god and so on. That also has been mentioned here. Then you have Durga Kavacham and the mention of different vratas. There is a vrata called the Punyaka Vrata. What is this Punyaka Vrata? It is done in praise of goddess Durga. So it is somewhat similar to what we do during the Navaratri times, right? The Kanya Puja and so on. The red color cloth which we give to girls. So somewhat similar, you can say. So that is wherein we worship goddess Durga, Lakshmi, Saraswati, all three goddesses, but majorly Durga, Parvati. So that is this Punyaka Vrata. Of course, it has got a proper time in which it is done. It is again done in this the month of Magha especially. So it is somewhat similar to Navaratri Puja. Magha is the current month which is on the Shukla Paksha Tritiya. Shukla Paksha Tritiya that we have. On that day we have the this puja that is done, Punya Kavrata. How that is done is you do your daily rituals and so on. Then you worship Lord Krishna. Now, why Krishna has been mentioned is because the Purana is glorifying Lord Krishna. And then you have, in this, what is done is it has been mentioned that you offer Parijata flowers to Krishna every day for about 8 to 10 days. And then you also worship Goddess Durga. So, this is how this uh, Vrata is done, Punyaka Vrata. So that also has been highlighted in this Purana. Next is now for doing this Punyaka Vrata, of course, you have to take Diksha also. Diksha in the sense properly how it should be done in detail has been mentioned, and we should follow that. Without that, if it is done, then it's not done in the right way. Next, we also have a stotram in praise of Lord Krishna. Again, it's a conversation between Narada and Narayana. So this Purana itself has a lot of stotras and stutis. So wherein praising each other, praising the rivers, praising Goddess Durga, praising Lord Krishna, praising Radharani, and so on. Now all these stotras come in the Ganapati Khandam. Ganapati Khandam. Now though the name is Ganapati Khandam, it doesn't talk as such of Lord Ganesha alone. Talks about other topics also. Then you also have, now again a very rare aspect of this Purana is you also have Himalaya, Himavan, Parvati's father. He also has composed a few stotras. You also have Himalaya Stotram. If I'm not wrong, it is composed in praise of Lord Shiva by Himalaya, and it is again a conversation between Parvati, Vishnu, Shiva, sorry, Himalaya, Dharma, and so on, Lakshmi. Then you have the birth of Ganesha that has been told in this Purana. Now, this birth of Ganesha, let's look at this in detail. Now, here the birth of Ganesha is little different. So it seems that here Parvati, she was not blessed with children, and she had a curse also that into a physical relation, never Shiva and Parvati will be able to beget children. So therefore, if you see, even when Skanda was born, that is Lord Kartikeya was born also, we know the story how Ganga river brings. Then you have the six Kritikas who help in giving birth to Skanda or Lord Kartikeya. Even the birth of Ayyappa we know is different, or even the birth of Ganesha is different. So it's not basically a biological birth. Shiva and Parvati, they had got a Parvati had a curse, that's why they could not beget children through a physical relationship. So that's the reason Parvati used to continuously pray, it seems, in an instance to Lord Krishna. Now, Krishna is the supreme as per this Purana. So, therefore, uh, Parvati prays to him. And it seems that every day she used to visualize, meditate on the form of the Lord. Finally, the Lord comes in front of her. And what happens is, once Krishna comes in front of her, Parvati wills that I want a son like you. The form that I saw in my the form that I saw in front of you, I want a son like you. And finally, what happens is the Lord is happy. All the other gods also go and convince Lord Krishna, saying that you please bless Parvati with the child. And that's when she's also very happy. She provides sweets, this, that, presents to all her uh, attendants who are there in Kailasa. And finally, what happens is it seems that while all this was happening, she was getting a blessing. She had a blessing from Krishna that a son will be born to you soon. She started resting along with Shiva at night time. Suddenly, what happened is she started hearing someone playing the flute in the forest. Along with Lord Shiva, she goes to the forest. At that time, what happened is just hold on. While they were going to the forest, I'm sorry, while they were going to the forest, suddenly a Brahmana comes in. Brahmana, you can say like a scholarly person. So he comes, he stops Shiva. While both Shiva and Parvati were going to the forest, at that time this person comes there and he stops Shiva, saying that I've come here to meet you. I've done a lot of vrata on you. I've prayed to you. Where you're going with to the forest along with Parvati. And he stops Parvati also and tells her, you to please stop whatever you're doing, wherever you're going, stop everything. Give me food. I'm very hungry, and I've come to meet all of you. So both Shiva and Parvati, you have to protect me. This, that, and so on. Now, after getting all this, it seems that at this instance, what happens is now both Shiva and Parvati, so you can just imagine the situation. Shiva and Parvati were resting at night, and both of them were sleeping together. They were resting. Suddenly, they hear a beautiful background music. They get up to go out. At that time, this Brahmana comes. So, they have not actually reached the forest. At that time, a Brahmana comes outside and they stop. So basically, Shiva and Parvati, as per this Purana, it is mentioned that they had developed feelings for each other, and the it seems that at that time, Shiva's generative fluid, that is a semen that is there, it enters the womb of Durga or Parvati. That is what has been mentioned here, and that's how the birth of Ganesha takes place. This is a reference as per Brahmavaivarta Purana. So, a biological birth has been mentioned. But now, how far we should believe this, how far we should believe that, that is a question of controversy. But as far as what Ramayana talks about and all other stories talk about, we don't have the birth of Ganesha, which is mentioned this way. Ramayana talks about the birth of Kartikeya, wherein we have the curse also that was given, and we know the popular story how Parvati did not, how Parvati created a child and so on in the form of Ganesha. So that is the most popular story. This version of Ganesha's birth is given in the Brahmavaivarta Purana. So as I told you, as time periods change, you have different opinions that are there. How far we should believe, as we know the order that is there: Vedas, Vedantas, Itihasas, Puranas. So we cannot say that something which is mentioned is wrong. It might be a different way of interpretation. That's it. So this is the birth of Ganesha which is mentioned here. An interesting birth wherein Lord Vishnu or Lord Krishna's playing the flute that is there, it actually develops feelings. So just the entry of the Brahmana that is there, it's just to disturb or to get up. When both of them were sleeping together, it was just to wake up both of them to move towards the musical sound. And at that time, Brahmana comes and he stops. Now, what happens further? Let's see. Now, Shiva asks the Brahmana, the person who had come, who are you? You tell me your name. Parvati also asks the same thing. And at that time, the Brahmana he says that um, I have come here just to meet you. I'm your great devotee, this, that, and so on. Now, here, what happens is, here the Brahmana, what he tells is, he tells a lady that I am like your son. Now, here, Brahma Vaivarta Purana, little it differs in this aspect. It tells that, now, what it told is, the semen of, that is, the fluid of Shiva enters Durga's body, and in the womb of Durga it entered. That's how the birth of Ganesha takes place. But what happened is, just to not disturb what has been mentioned in the Itihasas or so, immediately what happens is Parvati or Durga also gets up. So basically, as both of them were together, but suddenly she also gets up. So it's like a failure, you can say. And then what happens is this Brahmana who comes there, he makes a statement that I am like your son only, O Parvati. O Shiva, he tells, I'm your son. I'm actually your great devotee, but I've come here to meet you, so I'm also like your son. And later they accept, Shiva and Parvati both accept this Brahmana as their son, who's later called Ganesha. So basically, in the same story, if you want, you can read through this. I'll tell you the chapter number 8 of which Khandam? Chapter 8. Mm, Tritiya Khandam. Tritiya Khandam, or you call it popularly as a Ganesha Khandam. In that, you have this story of Ganesha. So, in the same chapter that is there, the story little it changes its perspective. Now, why this happens is in many Puranas you will find this, because the Puranas don't want to go against what has been mentioned in the Itihasas and other popular scriptures. At the same time, they will also tell us a way in which things are, or you can say a different version of stories. How far we should consider this, how far you get into the conflict. Let's not get into that. If you read through the entire Purana in the original form, you'll get an idea of it. So now, here at that time, this Brahmana who was there, he later he had the form of a Brahmana, and he talks to Goddess Parvati and Shiva saying that I am also like your son only. And as per the Vedas, he tells them this, that, everything, whatever he had learned, all his teachings, he tells. And then he was, the Brahmana who was there, he had the complexion of a very, you can say, pure complexion, or like a lot of tejas, as we say, his eyes were shining. So everything was good. Parvati automatically felt that this devotee is like my son only. Now, after this incident had happened, it seems that suddenly the Brahmana who was coming and speaking to them, all of a sudden he goes away. But now what happens is he disappears from there. But Parvati, goddess Durga, had already developed feelings for the child, because now there might be many mothers here, so many parents as such. So you might relate that for those who don't have children for years together, whenever we look at other children, automatically we feel that some or the other point we also feel, why not I too have kids, why am I not blessed with kids, and so on. So automatically this feeling comes at some point or the other. So same thing here, Parvati and Shiva also experience. Now here you might have a doubt, if today we revere Shiva and Parvati as gods, goddesses, and so on, why so much, or you can say, like, why it's like a film also, right? Or like a TV serial, as we have. Very worldly story, just two people coming together, then going about wailing for a child, and so on. Because just as Kalidas also mentions in Raghuvamsha, Vagarta Vivasamputau, Vagarta Pratipattaye, Jagadav Pitarau Vande, Parvati Parameshwaram. The divine couple, or the father of the entire, the father and mother, parents of the entire world, Jagadav Pitarau Vande, Parvati Parameshwaram. So Parvati Parameshwara, or like the Soundarya Lahari also says, Shiva Shaktya Yukto Yadi Bhavati Shaktah Prabhavitum, Purusha and Prakriti. Shiva, Purusha. Prakriti is Shakti, goddess Shakti herself. So Shiva and Parvati actually represent the world and all the couples who are there, all the partners, all the men, husband and wife in this entire world. So they will be like an inspiration, or you can say, like whatever happens today with us in our material world, that has got some or the other mention even in the Purana. So whatever today if you are experiencing or something is happening, there is surely some reference somewhere in our scriptures. So whatever now, so we must not feel that what Shiva and Parvati also are doing the same thing, I am also seeing the same thing in the world around. Why are we worshipping these two as gods? This can happen same with Lakshmi Narayana or any other gods also. Why do gods take avatars? Like some fools will make some statements, right? When Rama takes an avatara, why is he waiting for his wife also? Or later Shiva, when he loses Sati, how Sati did the Tandavan, how Shiva did the Tandavan Nritya, is this even legal? Legal, or is this correct? They are gods. Though they are gods, in Sanatana Dharma, gods are not magicians. Right? Gods, of course, they have their own divine power, yogic powers, and so on, but at the same time, they have some connect with the society. That's why Rama, though we worship him as God, many of us will look at him as a role model. Or even Krishna also, though it's a Purana Avatara, Krishna also, so when they, like to Arjuna, how he guides in the Gita, for us it's a way of life, right? So each and everything, when gods take an avatara, or when Shiva, Parvati, it can be Vishnu, it can be Brahma, any gods, whatever incident that takes place, it has got some or the other, you can say, relation with human life even today. So he must not just be, Rama, like a fool, he is waiting for his wife. He had so much of divine powers, he could have shot an arrow or so, brought back Sita. He will have powers, but at that form, he is in the form of a Naravatara. Thousands of years later, right in the Kali Yuga today, also, if you look upon Rama, there have to be certain aspects. Today, then, who will worship Rama? If that day, I'll give you an example. If during Ramayana times, when Rama lost his wife, say he had magical powers, this, that, divine powers. If he had just shot an arrow and brought back Sita, today we would not be worshipping Rama, because we can never relate to that, right? Do we have today divine powers or something like this? Something vanishes, I'll shoot an arrow, bring that back? No. We'll feel, oh, it's just like a fairy tale. Rama is doing some smell, this and that, spell, right? But no. When Rama also in that form, he puts in efforts, and so much he had to seek the help of animals, monkeys, and so on. At that time, it's like a lesson to us that life has got lots of problems, this and that, which each one of us faces, but we have to come through that through many obstacles, like Rama did, seeking the help of others, this, that, and so on. So this becomes more relatable. Human life, or for human beings, we believe things that are relatable to us, not things that are magical. That's the reason why all gods, and even in their avatars also, through all these Puranas, the main purpose of these Puranas also is to show to the world, show a way of life. Even Krishna also, as he tells in the Gita, He doesn't tell Arjuna anything which is meaningless, right? Or something which Arjuna cannot do. He tells things only which Arjuna can understand, and he can practically do that. If suddenly someone says, "No, you do this, you do that, you close your eyes," some magicians or these sometimes astrologers, this and that, they'll tell us, right? You do this, do that. We believe it can be true also. I'm not against that. But it becomes little difficult for us to believe because it's like a spell or magical things are difficult to accept. Whereas when we have to put efforts or things like that, or today when we read the Ramayana, we read the Mahabharata, now the Pandavas also. Pandavas were good. Why then? They were always on the path of Dharma. Why did they have to face so much? For that, they have their own karma coming in. They have to put in their own efforts. Only then things are happy. Same thing we relate to our lives today. I do only good things, but still the world's problems are on me. That's because we have our own karma also. We have our own experiences. Life is full of ups and downs. So the point of telling all this is, be it the Puranas or be it the Itihasas or be it even gods and their avatars, each and every incident, each and every story tries to relate itself to human life. This is the speciality of Sanatana Dharma, which tries to show nothing which is unbelievable also. No, this is God is someone who has got all the magical powers. He will just turn everything aside. Human beings are totally low. They are nowhere near to him. It's not at all like that. Sanatana Dharma tries to show that the Lord or the Supreme who's there, he's also a part of each one of us. And that's the reason through these different stories, avatars, Puranas, Itihasas, and so, this is the meaning that comes out, or this is a point which the Lord tries to show. So, with this, the birth of Ganesha, this topic ends. I'll stop speaking for today. Let us learn Krishna Kavacham. Many of them are joined for Krishna Kavacham. So let's continue with that. Next Saturday, we will again continue. You can join in the same link. Of course, Krishna Kavacham will not get over this week. So ensure that you join again next Saturday also, same time, 9 to 10. We'll also continue looking at the Brahma Vaivarta. Now let's start learning Krishna Kavacham. I've sent the text. Please take out that.